Welcome to Why Should I Care, a pop culture podcast. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with comedian Bret Ernst from Principal's Office to Cobra Kai, so many other things, Wild West Comedy Tour, over 20 years in the game. It's a true pleasure to have him here. So let's get to it.
Why should I care? Well, you really shouldn't.
Welcome for Bret Ernst!
Yo, DJ. Come on, keep it going for Gabby. What's up, Anthony? How you doing?
Well, thank you for taking the time, Bret. So what's life looking for you right now? What's life like right now for Bret Ernst?
Well, right now I'm actually living in Vegas, doing shows out there. I have a residency at the LA Comedy Club at the Strat. So I'm there every Tuesday and Wednesday at 10 o'clock, which is pretty cool because it's like I get to work my stuff. It's good to have a home. Like, because I'm not in LA anymore. My home was the Comedy Store. So I would work there every night, which comics need that. It's funny. Everybody thinks you just write and then do it. I mean, it's a trial and error process that needs an audience, and stand-up's always a working process. It's not like a band that you can go play in the garage, practice and then go perform in front of people. We need a crowd. So,
Right.
And that club's one of the best clubs in Vegas. It was voted the best club. So that's what's going on right there. And just, we just wrapped on Cobra Kai, and yeah, that's it, man. That's what's going on in my life.
Nice, man. Well, you have some great wisdom that I've picked up over the years, and you had said at one point, been quoted as saying, there are comics that write jokes about life, and there are comics that make life funny.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first know that you could make life funny?
I always knew. It's hard to say. Like, I was definitely the class clown. I was always in the principal's office, which is why I named my special principal's office. I played sports my whole life. Even in college, I was always cracking jokes in the locker room, and I guess I didn't know if I was funny. I always got attention from being that way. So I guess since I was a kid, man. But it was always like, it was just like what I did. I can't explain. Like, I didn't plan it out, if that makes sense. Like, I never said, "Oh, I'm funny, let me go be funny." I just was always clowning around and joking around. I moved around a lot, Anthony. So I went to like 15 different schools. So when I was always the new kid, I would always make friends. Probably, I analyze it now as an adult, but probably got in trouble because that was how I got attention, or try to make friends, if that makes sense.
For sure, man. Yeah, and something that's been inspiring in my own personal situation that you've kind of touched on in interviews that I've heard you talk about is to embrace the trials and tribulations in your life, and because I know that you've said that you're not a rear view person except in your act. How instrumental is comedy been for you to kind of process all those trials and tribulations?
Well, it's so explain the question. Like,
well, for me, comedy is therapeutic in a lot of ways. Being a comic.
Is that the word, cathartic?
Yeah, cathartic or therapeutic.
Yeah, dog, I'd be dropping vocabulary. Dog.
Yeah, man.
I'm smart, kid. Let's go. You want to hear words?
Was that your experience too? Is that how you feel about comedy? To put that truth out there?
It is cathartic, but as far as trials and tribulations go, well, clarifying the rear view mirror statement, it's like, once things happen, you just got to move on from it, but you got to make it work for you, however it may work in any field. And, it becomes the sugar in the Kool-Aid, so to speak, like, if you're making Kool-Aid, your free thought is got to be the number one is the water. Right. And then the mix and the sugar is your point of view and your life experiences, and nothing makes for better stories than fucked up stories, or fucked up events. But I mean, for a lot of people that, you know, some people use it just as a way to vent their observations or their philosophies on the world. And then some people do it as a coping mechanism because it is. I mean, that's where humor comes from. I personally, you know, just embrace the bad, man. I'm a big guy that, a big guy, a big, I buy into Stoicism a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with that philosophy at all. Are
Yeah,
you? So,
yeah.
you know,
Only from your interview, actually, I think with Pete Holmes. Yeah, I think you had mentioned it on a podcast there, and that actually introduced me to that.
yeah, it's the idea that, you know, you embrace your fate and love it, which is it's amor fati, and then the other one is memento mori. I think it is how they say it. They're both Latin. It's a dead language, but and that means realize you're going to die. And people have to realize that. I mean, everybody knows you don't live forever, but do people really understand that you're not going to live forever? And then if you don't take anything with you, you don't own shit, right? You just own your experiences and your sins. That's about it, depending on your religious background. You know, I tend to be Catholic, so
Yeah, me too.
it goes with the Italian. It goes with the Sunday dinners. But you know, the point is you just own your experiences, and if you just know that shit happens, it's life, it's what we signed up for. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be impactful, but you can't dwell on it, and just know you got to love all the fucked up stuff as well as the good stuff. You got to treat it with the same respect and love. And you know, look, nobody ever said no. Life's not easy for anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not a person out there, so you either dwell in it or, you know, you make it work for you. And that's why comedy's great, because it's your ingredient, and you have to make it work for you. You know.
For sure. You know, you have such a strong work ethic, and you've talked about Dice and other people in your life. Where did you learn that comedic work ethic?
Sports.
Sports.
Yeah, you know, and I, you know, it's funny when I first came around the store, and I think Joe knows this or not. I don't know. I don't know if they said it in front of him, but Dom Herrera used to say that I used to remind him of Joe, because I would record my sets and bring my notes, right? And I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm gonna do this, and then I took it as a compliment because he said Rogan used to do that. The only thing that they didn't know is I never listened to my sets, and I've got about 8,000 hours of comedy I've never listened to. I record my sets sometimes. Like I'll get one good one and then try and work around it. But no, I got it from sports, where, like, you know, you get what you put into it, man. And that's also life, you know. And I was surrounded by blue collar people, man. My you know, my grandfathers, my stepfather, my godfather, they were all, you know, they're all, you know, pack a lunch, go to work, don't, you know, be the best at whatever you can do. And, you know, in sports, the other thing that's how sports applies to comedy is you learn to compete with yourself, right? So it's like golf. You're trying to outdo your best game. So, and you also know how to you know, go up, you have to put in that extra effort. But the thing with art, it's a little different because, you know, you can't force creativity. That's what I found in stand up is I would say the one thing that I was really good at is working through the plateaus. You know, like I'll keep getting up while I'm not feeling creative, if that makes sense. Because see, with comedy, like you start here, and let's say you go on stage, and you know you're doing well, whatever, and you're feeling it, and you're feeling creative, and your bits are working. Then all of a sudden, it plateaus. It's like, okay, I'm not that excited anymore. That joke didn't hit like it used to. You know, I'm not being creative. I can't come up with anything new right now. That add-on didn't work. And then you ride these plateaus, however long they take. But the good news is the next time you're creative again, it's not just one level, it's like 2 levels up. Like you level up twice, as long as you keep fighting through the plateaus and the not feeling creative. And like, you know, there's gigs you take where you're like, I know these crowds are going to be rowdy. I know, like, you know, we're in freaking Kentucky, you know, it's going to be rowdy, you know, or I'm in Seattle, you know, they're going to be all fucking woke. You know, there's certain crowds that you do that you're like, well, fuck it, I got to do it. Even though I don't want to go punch that clock, you got to go punch that clock. You got to go,
Sure.
go give it, you know, the best you can do, you know, the best you can do with it. So, you know, when I first started, that was what I meant to say. You start, you develop what you think is a work ethic and how to work. But after you do it 24 years, you create your own way of doing it. Like, I don't walk around with a notebook anymore. I don't even write anything down. I just keep talking through repetition, you know?
Yeah.
I'm also friggin' stupid. So that's, that could also be.
Well, yeah, that 10,000 hours, 5 minutes at a time, as you say. Right.
Yeah. By the way, what was this on? What interview was that?
Jesus. Man, no,
I say that all the time. I say that's the hard part about comedy. They go, yeah, the 10,000 hour rule. Yeah, we got to do it 5 fucking minutes at a time until you get to a certain point. My goal is to do at least, I try and get at least 6 hours of stand up a week.
Wow.
If I can. I mean, you know, give or take, at least 2 I'll do with with my residency. I'll do over an hour a night. But if, like, I'm going into Seattle or Tacoma, I'm sorry, next week, I'll have a show Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. So that's 5 hours. So then I'll get 7 hours that week. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And just keep working at it and working at it and working at it. So I always tell younger comics that too, man. It's so much harder when you're starting out, you know, because, like I said, you're inching towards. But once you establish yourself and you're able to headline and do, you know, 45 minutes to an hour a night, that's when you can really start to grow and take those risks, you know. But it's hard to do that within your first 6 years, because every set you're auditioning pretty much.
Right. Well, if you don't mind, talk about that, because I think you had I've heard you talk about milestones. What is it, 6, 11, and 15 years?
Yeah, I don't know that I say that, but I don't know if I came up with that. I think Don Marrero might have said that to me. Somebody said that to me. I don't know, man. But yeah, those are the milestones: 6, 11, and 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did come up with that.
Well,
within 6 years. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah, I would love for you to talk about that if you don't mind.
Was that what you asked me to explain that, or no?
Yeah, if you don't mind explaining the 6, 11, and 15, because I found that pretty fascinating, especially as somebody that's just starting in the big scheme of things as far as comedy.
So within 6 years, you know, everybody gets the same thing pretty much. Like, you know, you start out, you do the mics, you get a guest set, you might be asked to MC. You know, you're developing your act, you get this strong, maybe 30, 40 minutes within 6 years. And then that leads to, like, the festivals and, you know, that type of stuff starts to happen. But there's a little successes, right? You might get the new faces in Montreal. You might, you know, you get all these little things that keep you going. And then between 6 and 11 is when you start, you know, really getting into comedy, like understanding it. And I always say in this area is when you really stop putting things in your act and you start taking it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, this is kind of hacky, or this isn't really true, or I didn't really feel this way, or I don't feel this way anymore. Like one of the jokes, you know, you grow as a person, so your material that you did at 28 is an immature person that you're doing it at 38. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then after between 11 and 15 is when you start really, you know, getting the hours together. You start really understanding your voice and how you want to say it. And then after 15, you could do you've seen it all already. In 15 years, you've seen things start to repeat itself, you know? And after 15, that's like, you don't have to do bar shows anymore. And it's not because you're above it. It's because what are you going to get out of it that you didn't get when you were 6 years in? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you step your game up. And now you're doing 2, 3, 4 hours a week. You're coming up with thoughts and ideas, and you pretty much have your swag, and then that's how you now you write through that person's eyes. That is a 15-year comic. You're now writing as a comic, a real comedian, if that makes sense. So after 15 years, it's like if you have $1 billion or $6 billion, you're still a billionaire.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel you.
Like but so those are kind of like that. I mean, I kind of rushed through it, but that's just the way I analyzed it. What I've seen, the pattern. And some people pop at 7 years. It may happen at 4 years. You never know, but those are the stages. And comedy is weird too, because you can get stuck at a lot of levels if you don't keep powering through.
Yeah, I feel that. And you've talked about.
It's how you do it. Like there's some people that have to put the pen to the pad, and they write like 10 jokes a day. I can't do that. I'm not. I always said I'm not I'm not a good writer. I'm not a smart dude like that. I'm not built that way. So I have to get up and talk it out. And then through the repetition, I just mark it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't say you're not a smart guy. You're a screenwriter, you're an actor, you're a comic. You're doing it all, man. And you're doing it well.
Whatever. All right, let's just say I do dumb shit.
No, man. Well, if you don't mind, you have a great story about, I think, your first television appearance. Could you kind of talk me through? I think you were delivering pizzas at the time, if memory serves. And it was kind of humbling because I was somebody who's got a day job and I do comedy. Like I can totally relate to this.
Time I did it, it wasn't actually a set. I was doing a show. I was doing it was on the Best Damn Sports Show, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I was delivering pizzas, and I was trying to rush to go see it because it was this whole thing we did, and I couldn't do it. So when I get to the house with the pizza, I was rushing to get back. The guy opens the door, and as he opens the door, you see me walk on the stage, and and he was looking like I'm standing there like, hey man. It was like the look on his face was, wow, how cool. This is fucking sad. And then I said to him, I made a joke. I said, well, I guess I'm fast, like I said, you mind if I watch? And we sat down and we watched me do, the sketch and the set and everything. And he didn't laugh once. I remember that.
Oh, shit.
By the way, I ate a slice. I took a slice.
Oh, man. That's crazy.
And I was driving at that time a 97 Ford Escort, right? Where the fucking things, if you made a left, it would stall out. So like if I had to go somewhere, I would just have to make rights. Like if I had to go here, I'd make a right and then a right and then a right and then go overshoot the motherfucker. I had to keep making rights. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I'll hit the left if it's safe because it'll stall. And then you got to hit the gas and then it'll go boom and it'll start up again. But like you can't do that shit in LA, man. You'll get T-boned at the fucking intersection. I remember jumping in the car because like after it was over, like and I just got the fucking because it was not embarrassing, but it was just awkward and weird. And I got in my car and I remember I had to make a left and then I couldn't because I came this way. It was like a one-way, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it went this way. So I came from here. So in order for me, I had to go out and I had to make,
a loop.
I had to pull out and I had to go left. And the fucking thing was bucking as I'm driving away. I'm like, this guy was like, I'm the biggest fucking loser on the planet. Fuck that guy. I'll torch his house. I really didn't give a fuck. I just wanted to see the set.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you've been around and I was lucky enough to do a set last time you were at the Roma Room in Austin. And, tell me about what you think of the scene, especially with the pandemic. How are you feeling about it?
Look, it's cool, man. Like when you like the grapes of wrath, because of that famine is where all those people came from. I think it was Texas, right? Went all the way up to California. And because of that, you had a country Western scene in Bakersfield, California.
Yeah.
Right. It's weird in American history, this period is, you know, a lot of those comics that were in LA and in New York, which, just for the record, a lot of those areas are not really conducive for art. See, people think that, you know, the best artists and the best musicians and the best comedians, they go to LA, but they're not from LA. I mean, there are some, you know what I mean? Just like there are from anywhere, but they're from Iowa, they're from Georgia, they're from New Jersey, you know, they're from all over. And they either go to New York or LA because you have to be there. And then once you get there, you're in the business of it. But then what happens is the politics get involved. There's the, you know, the Hollywood politics, the national politics, you know, things go either, you know, it becomes too political. And right now it's such a political state that you have these people that are trying to police art, right?
Yeah.
And it's always been around. You could pick a side. I mean, they threw Lenny Bruce in jail for, you know, making jokes about religion and America. And then they have people that want to get you fired for doing jokes about, you know, progressive politics. Yeah, it's not good for creativity. Because like I said, the main ingredient of creativity is free thought. So, and again, the Comedy Store always supported that. I don't know if you watched the doc on that, but that was Mitzi's motto was, you know, she didn't care actually. And she wanted you to be as true to yourself as possible. If you ever go to the cover booth, there's a quote under there in the original room. And it says, you don't have 3 minutes to be funny. You have 3 minutes to be you, right? To be yourself, which is really hard to do in 3 minutes, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was always the thing. So you go up there, you speak your truth. Your truth may not agree with the truth in the room. You know, like I said, I'm Catholic, but like Rogan's bit on Noah's Ark is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever heard in my life. Because anybody that believes in religion, there's a lot of times like Dov Davidoff goes, you don't believe in a talking snake, do you? You know, there's some wacky shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But I'm saying is that it's still funny, right? I'm not going to sit there and go, well, you me, right? So now what happened because of COVID and the way that a lot of the, you know, California was handling it and New York was handling it, all these people had to leave, right? Hence Grapes of Wrath. So
right.
now you get all of these comics that, you know, that want to work. See, that's the other thing. I know a lot of comedians that don't really work that much in LA and we're like, you know, well, we should stay home and oh, fuck that. You know, there's a bigger picture here and we'll get back to that. So everybody went to Austin, people went to Nashville, you know, the South was open, right? Because they're handling it differently.
Right.
And all of the Florida was rolling with it. So all these comics said, hey man, I need to create, I need to work. I would, me personally, I'll risk getting COVID, which I got it, but I'll risk that so I could do what I love to do. And on top of that, these clubs need to stay open. And we have to, even if it's a lot, like, not that it matters, but there's a bunch of comics I know that went on the road. And you know how many times I would get hit up and go, wait, you're going to go into that club for that amount of money? Because it's not what you would usually make. It's still good. You know, yeah. I landscaped for years. I'd get up at 6 a.m. in the Florida heat and go till 6 p.m. So, and I wouldn't make a third of what I'm making to go and do what I love. But what's even more important, the clubs needed to fucking stay open. You have, sure. I mean, dude, I've been doing the road for at least 16, 17 years. I know the club owners. I know servers that have been there that long, you know, and their business is going to die. So if you could come in and you can create and you can do what you love and at the same time keep them fed. So now all these people fled and, you know, to these places that were trying to stay open. And now you got a new comedy scene, like you did a country Western scene in Bakersfield. You know, it's funny. I only know that because when we did the Wild West tour, we went up there and that's where Buck Owens was and Dwight Yoakam. You know, there was a country Western scene in Bakersfield, California because of what happened in Texas. And now there's a comedy scenes in the South because of what the fuck happened in California, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Austin's great, man. And what's even better is, you know, you got some guys down there that like nobody. There's not many comedians that get it like Rogan gets it, and Burr gets it, and Chappelle gets it, and Patrice if he was alive. You know, where you just say it, man. Just fucking say it. We know your intentions are good, you know, and whatever the joke is, it's just a joke or it's a thought. But so there's a good pioneer down there too that helps. If that, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like you got people down there that come in there that understand what the fuck the art of stand-up comedy is. And it's never been to pander, ever. Right?
Hell yeah.
Richard Pryor never pandered. Carlin never pandered. You know, Patrice never pandered. They don't pander. That's the key. So I think it's a beautiful thing. By the way, I'm still a little drunk. So I got in at 7. So it's a you know, I think it's cool, man, and I think it's good for yeah. The other thing that helps is that you have the internet now, so you don't need to be in LA and New York. You can create your art, and you have a way for people to see it. That's why I put my special out for free, man. You know.
Yeah, Principal's Office is great. You know, if y'all need to turn this off and watch that if you haven't seen it.
But you know, it wasn't. I produced it myself, and you know, there was some Hollywood politics involved to where some people didn't even want to look at it. And then I got a Mickey Mouse offer on it, but it wasn't anything major. And I wasn't going to be able to own it.
Right.
So then I'm like, fuck it. I'll just put it out for free then. I mean, I'd rather do that. I'd rather rob myself than if you're going to rob me. And you know, it's at like 3.5 million views now. And the next one, which I shot, I didn't put it out yet. I shot at Kimmel's Club right before COVID broke out. I'll probably release that. I don't know what I'm doing with that one either, but I might release that the same way. You know, right. I just think it's a smarter move. I want people to see it, and then come to the club and keep your feelings at home, and then watch it live. You know.
Oh yeah, man. I wanted to ask you also, you know, because you're doing Cobra Kai, audiences are knowing you for a lot of different reasons from comedy and from the show.
People don't know I'm a comic. That's the part. That's the part I'm trying to do now. I'll get recognized all the time from the show, but they don't know I'm a comic.
I mean, how do you feel about flexing those muscles creatively? Like, is it hard to be a comic and an actor at the same time?
Nah, it's fun, man. It's the same. It's kind of the same shit, you know. Like you got to train at that too, man. That's what a lot of people don't realize. My biggest thing was auditioning. You know, auditioning was really hard for me. Once I was on set, I was great with acting, but it was the awkwardness of, you know, going into a room. It's not even the awkwardness. It was like the people that read with you, sometimes they don't know how to read, or, you know, there's a lot of green mistakes you make when you first get into acting, right? Just like in comedy. One of the networks, I had a deal earlier in my career, then they're like, we want to put him in a class, and I was not good in acting class at all. I take the athlete's mentality with me, right? So in acting class, everybody was all like, you know, that was wonderful, that was great, you know, so let's hear about you. And it was almost like fucking therapy for some of these actors that come in there, they start talking about everything but work.
Right.
So I ended up going with a coach, and then I would do private sessions, because I don't, like I said, my thing is, how do we make something good great? You know what I mean? How do we be the best at whatever our potential is? And it's not by you wanting me to explore or listen to other people explore their feelings or whatever the fuck it is. I need to work, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Don't get me wrong, you got to tap into that while you're acting, but you know, listen, every role I've ever had, I'm in a tracksuit. So, which rightfully so, which I deserve to be in tracksuits.
Well, did being in Jersey, like right before your Cobra Kai audition, did that help you?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Because it's like now, you know, I'm out with my friends, And, you just talk a little bit. It rubs off on you. Because I grew up a lot in Florida, man. But to people outside of New Jersey, you can hear an accent because it's just kind of like the way you talk. I don't say talk. I don't say coffee. I'm gonna go walk. Manhattan, like the way they talk up there. You used to go with him like that. It's not like that, but to outsiders it may be. But there is a laziness to it. So, anyways, you try and get away from that for when you're acting, because you want to be able to play a guy from the Midwest.
Sure.
I can't avoid it, but so I was in Jersey doing a show at the at Asbury Park, and then I did a theater, the Independent Theater out there. So I was there all week promoting it. So when I got the call to audition, I went from Jersey right to the audition. So I kind of had a little bit more, like I'm talking more, more relaxed, but it's not cartoony. It's not like, hey, how you doing? Everybody good? That type of shit. And I think that helped because they said it was very natural. But, if it was a week later, I might have tried to lose the accent a little and then get the audition and then go back and try and bring it back. So it was just, I was hanging out there all week. It just blended right in. So.
Oh yeah, man. Everybody's loving the show. I think I heard somebody say it's the only thing the internet can agree on is how good Cobra Kai is.
That was a quote that I read that too. Yeah, it says, that's when we were on YouTube. So people don't know we shot the first 3 seasons for YouTube. And then Netflix acquired it. And this 4th season was the only one that was, for Netflix specifically.
Nice, man.
And there's some great people, man, that are behind it. Guys that they did Harold and Kumar and the other one they did. Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh, yeah.
And Will Smith executive produces it. His company does. So there's a lot of creative people behind it,
Well, nice, man. And you just wrapped season 4?
Josh Yield, John Hurwitz, and Hayden Schlossberg is the names.
Nice. And you just wrapped on season 4?
Yeah. They just wrapped up. I had a couple episodes, but yeah, they just wrapped up.
Nice. And if you don't mind, I wanted to talk the Romo Room a little bit. You're about to be back in June. We're excited to have you back in Austin, and I know you're going to be in the surrounding areas in San Antonio also.
We're doing a Comics of Cobra Kai tour. It's me and Dan Ahood. So Dan will open for me.
Nice.
And then I close it out. Dan's not a good comic. No, I'm joking. I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff, man, but he's fucking great. So Dan plays Anoush, the other guy at the car salesman, but we're the only 2 stand-ups on the show. So we decided, hey man, let's go do a couple of shows together. It'll be fun. And it switches it up. I will say that I do miss like doing tours sometimes. Like when I did the Wild West tour and then I did the Young American tour, you get to go on the road with your friends. And now that I'm not married anymore, and I don't have to worry about being back to get yelled at. So I can go enjoy the city and take my time and, stuff like that. But yeah, we're doing a couple dates in Texas, in Corpus. But I'm going to do that. I was going to think to stay through and then do a couple shows in Austin, man. But how are you guys liking it, though? It's pretty cool for you, huh?
Yeah, it is pretty cool. The Romo Room's been great, too. It's been a great place to work it out. And, having the opportunity to see people do their work like yourself has been great. But the scene's booming. It just seems like, with Segura coming here and Rogan and Chappelle spending so much time, it's been crazy what we've had the opportunity to see. And then, just to be part of that and watching it grow, as you said, everybody coming from Cali and New York, it's been a good thing.
I will say though, you need to, like what made New York so great is stage time, right? So, look, to be honest with you, you guys are what you're seeing in Austin is basically the OR on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So what's great about having a boom and having people wanting to see these shows is it creates more rooms. So just get out of the mindset that you're going to go and watch professionals work. Just know that there's all this scene popping up, so you can do 4 or 5 sets a night, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know,
What was the max amount of sets you've done in a night?
in one night I got, well, in LA I did 5.
Wow.
But 3 were at, so basically it just worked out that way, that the Improv had an 8 o'clock show that I was on Melrose, and then I drove up and I was on at 9:30 at the Laugh Factory, right? And then I was on at 10:15, I think, in the OR, and then there was a fallout in the main room. So Tommy was like, "Hey, can you do the main room? We don't have a comic." So then I jumped on at the main room at like 11, and then at like, I was hanging out in the back, and then somebody came down from the belly room and said, "Hey man, you want to do a spot?" And it goes, can you close it out? So I hit 3 in one location, which, you know, that's what was great. There's 3 different rooms at the store, so I was happy to play all 3 that night. But I had the 2 ones earlier, so I had gotten 5 in LA at 15-minute increments.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's cool.
So it's like, that's all. So that total right there is an hour and 15. But when I'm on the road, you know, I could do that whole thing in one show. So that's why, you know, as you progress, it took me, I had to hustle to get that 5 15-minute spots. And by the way, I was repeating the same 15 and mixing it up a little, but it wasn't, you know, like you go do an hour now. You can take your time.
Is it true that you did?
I always tell the younger guys that too, because they're like, "Wow, man, you have a lot of material." It's like, yeah, I get a lot of time. So don't put the pressure. I mean, put the pressure to be creative and to keep writing. But, you know, and the other beautiful thing about stand-up is everybody from Rogan to Chappelle to Sebastian, everybody's been at where you're at, right? There's nobody's ever skipped a step that has become a great comedian. You can't. You could be famous, don't get me wrong. You could skip steps, become famous, and then jump on stage and grab a mic. But in order to be Chappelle, in order to be Burr, and to be as good as them, and you can't fake it, man. So, you know, you can't skip those steps. So everybody's been where you're at, and if a comic remembers where they've been, they would treat other comedians the way that, you know, that they need to be respected. You know what I'm saying? Because there are some assholes out there, but you know what I mean. So when we see you guys doing what you're doing, it's like, yeah, we've been there. So, you know, we know what it's like to have to do fucking 10 minutes here, 8 minutes. I remember one time, when you know, even with late night television, they're like, "Yo, we loved your set at the Comedy Store. Can you do the same thing, but don't do this, and it would be like me making like a gravy or something, a Sunday dinner, and you're like, "Wow, we love your tomato sauce. It's great, but can you make it without the garlic?" And you know, and now you got to make a meal out of something at last second. You know, all those scenarios that are thrown at you that you're gonna get, we've been to.
Yeah.
You know, from the comedy club owner. I remember one time this dude tried to dock my pay because I cursed. I'm like, what the fuck? You know? Dude, they were more scummy. I will say the comedy club owners have gotten a lot better. That's the other thing. When I was starting out in like 96, 95, 96, like a lot of those 80s guys were left over, which they were just basically strip club owners. Some of those, like there was some really shitty comedy clubs. Like not even D level where, you know, you would get up. I remember this one time, we got to go, right?
However much time you have, man.
It's a quick story. So
right.
I was opening up for, I forgot who it was. It was like some headline. I forgot who it was, but it was during the World Series. So the Marlins, it was the first time the Marlins were in the World Series. So the owner of the club comes up to me and says, "Hey, listen, you mind if I'm supposed to give you 100 a show? You mind if I give you 75 or 50? No, 75, because I don't think we're going to be busy." The owner said that, and I said, "Yeah, I mean, you know, I was like, well, fucking $25, but okay." But I said, you know, you're the owner anyway, so you know, what am I going to argue with you? Whatever. It was the manager. I'm sorry, it was the manager. Because the owner ended up calling me after this. So They had 2 shows. Everything was sold out. He gave me $150. He gave me $150. And I go, well, it's supposed to be 100 a show. He said, you agreed to 75. I said, I agreed to 75 if we didn't sell. I'm only doing comedy a year, maybe. I said, just give me my money, man. You know, just give it to me. Because I'm 26 now, or 25. You know, I'm still a little bit of a hothead. So, you know, I had words with him. I got my money, but it's like they was trying to fuck me at $25.
Shit.
I mean, it was that petty.
Wow.
There was a lot of them like that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll say, hey, I know another comedy club guy that used to do this. He goes, you want a drink? You'd be like, yeah. You hungry? You're like, yeah, sure, thank you. And at the end, it's all taken out of your check. Like what the
shit.
They only try to fuck with the MCs and the guests, you know. But when the major headliner comes in, they were all kissing his ass and that type of shit, man. So good thing you guys don't have to go through that.
Yeah, I mean, for real, man.
Although Rob, that owns the Romo Room, he was very inappropriate with me when he dropped me off at the hotel. But we'll talk about that another time.
Oh man, that sounds like you need to talk about it now.
He tried to get me to dance for extra money. It was really awkward.
I mean, you got to earn it, right?
Dude, I love that place. That club's great, man.
Oh yeah, it really is. Rob's
this guy
great.
Wants to act like we didn't have a fucking deal that we made before. I said the bonus structure includes fucking break dancing. He said yes, and then when the moment came, he's like, ah.
Chickened out. I chickened out. You make
Put the African bambata on, man.
No, but I can't wait to get back, man.
Oh yeah.
You can't hit the town and go downtown to the other, you know, just go around. It's great, man. You guys should be really excited out there, man. You know, it's starting to blow up out there. So enjoy it.
Well, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Brett.
Yeah, man. And I apologize if I'm rambling. I am. I'm still a little drunk.
No, I love it, man. It's been an honor to talk to you. And thanks so much.
Well, I'll see you when I'm down there, right? You come to the show.
Oh yeah, I'll be there.